वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Namaste and welcome to our session for today, Vedanta and Daily Living. Last week, we finished with the definition of Atma as Satchit Ananda. It was a heavy topic, and if you have not understood it, or if the definition of Satchit Ananda is not very clear to you, don't get too worried. I had mentioned earlier that the way Tattva Bodha text is worded, it doesn't give an opportunity for whoever is handling the text to delve deep into any of the subjects. So to dive deep into the definition of Satchidananda, namely Sat, Chit and Ananda, would have been difficult, because without a text as an anchor, it's very difficult for me to unfold it continuously over one lesson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit the definition of Satchidananda at a later point in time. When is that? That will be when we handle the text called Nirvana Shatkam. Once we've finished, last week I gave the text called the Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam. That will take us maybe about 4 or 5 weeks. Once we finish that, we'll go on to Nirvana Shatkam. And Nirvana Shatkam is a text that allows us to revisit all the topics that were done in Tattva Bodha. And while handling each of the topics, it also gives us the opportunity to go and look again at the definition of Satchidananda and Atma. There we'll have a great opportunity to dive deep and dwell longer on the definitions, and I also have a chance to elaborate further. So don't be too worried if you find that the definition of Satchidananda is not crystal clear to you at this point. Okay? So today what we'll do is we'll look at the text called the Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam. I had given the text over the WhatsApp. Why this text? Is because this text is to help us in the development of a pure and steady mind. In earlier classes, we said that in addition to the sadhana chatushtaya, the qualifications for a Vedanta student, it is also important that a Vedanta student leads a life of karma yoga. Okay, so there's sadhana chatushtaya, there's a lifestyle of a karma yoga. There is also a life of dharma, which one has to lead. So there is a life of dharma, a life of karma yoga, and also the 4 qualifications of sadhana chatushtaya. These are things that a student of Vedanta is expected to observe strictly. When I say life of dharma, in addition to the popularly known yamas and niyamas, there is also the Bhagavad Gita, which talks about values. particularly chapter 13 and chapter 17. There are also some other chapters which talk about values here and there, but the main chapters would be chapter 13 and chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, where they talk about values. So that will give you an idea of what are the dharmas, the values to be observed by a student of Vedanta. Okay, so if a student were to diligently observe a life of dharma, lead a life of karma yoga, and cultivate the sadhana chatushtaya to a significant extent, the knowledge of Vedanta as it's unfolded will sit well with him or her. He'll be able to assimilate it and apply it in his life. However, while doing this, there is another possible obstacle that may arise despite all the best intentions. What is that? That is what we call as vasanas or tendencies. That means, what does it mean? You see, despite all the best intentions and despite living a life of intense sadhana, I may have certain attributes, certain tendencies, certain traits, certain characteristics, which may become obstacles to the assimilation of the Vedantic knowledge that I'm acquiring. Sometimes it may even be an obstacle to observe a life of karma yoga or a life of dharma. So, that being the case, it is also important that I be cognizant of these vasanas, particularly the negative vasanas, which we call as durvasana, negative vasanas or durvasanas. I be aware of them and reduce or eliminate them altogether in my life. It's basically a process whereby I'm clearing the obstacles to my path. And one such text that will help us in this process is this text that I've sent to you, which is called the Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam. Dashakam means a text that comprises 10 verses. Dasha means 10. Dasavadaram, is it? So it's a text comprising 10 verses, Dashakam. Pratikara means remedy. So remedy what? Remedy the durvasana, the negative vasanas or the negative, we can take it as negative vasanas for now. Bad vasanas, negative vasanas. It's called durvasana. So durvasana pratikara dashaka means a text comprising 10 verses which will help you to remedy the durvasanas that you may have. This text was written by a very famous Vedantin called Swami Vidyaranya. He was living somewhere in the 15th or 16th century CE, I'm not too sure. And he authored many important Vedanta texts. The most popular one, of course, is Panchadashi. Panchadashi is a great Vedanta text on Vedanta, and Swami Vidyaranya was the author of that. And this text, Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam, is also attributed to Swami Vidyaranya. Okay? In the handout that I gave you, the commentaries written there is not by Swami Vidyaranya. The 10 verses were composed by Swami Vidyaranya. But the commentary there that you have there is a bit dubious because it was written by one of the Swamijis of the present day Arsha Vidya Gurukulam. I'm not too sure who it was because according to the website, it seems to be Swamini Swatma Bodhananda. But from the style of it, it seems to be Swami Paramatananda. Both of them are students of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, so of Arsha Vidya Gurukula. So I have to say that the commentary that you see within there is from one of the Swamiji or Swamini from Arsha Vidya Gurukula. Okay? But we will not rely heavily on the commentary. We'll look at the verses per se, which were composed by Swami Vidyaranya. Okay? Any questions before we start the text proper? In if you go to the chat on the site, there is a link there that Susain has given. In case you don't have the text, you've not printed it out, the link is given there. So you can click on the link and download the soft copy of the text, and you can watch it in real time while we are studying it. Look at the group chat that you see at the bottom of your screen. Any questions? Okay, so we'll go into the text per se. So for the first verse, we find that how the author has approached it is that he has taken, these verses are all in lines of 4. So each line will carry a particular message. Okay, so each of this line will carry a particular message that the author is trying to communicate. So if you look at the first shloka, the first line goes as Prarthar Vaidika Karmataha. Okay, then there is, so I will not focus so much on chanting because objective here is not chanting. I will take the points as and when they come along the way. Okay, so the first point that the author is making is you need to have a life that is what he calls as Prartha Vaidika Karma. That means you lead a life of a Vaidika Karma. What is Vaidika Karma? Vaidika comes from the word Veda. That means you do a karma as prescribed by the Vedas. What exactly is it then? Essentially, in our modern context, a Vaidika Karma means basically it's a life of prayers and worship of God. So you see, the first and foremost thing that the author is talking about is that one needs to do his prayers and daily worship. Have God as the most important part of your life. So to remove Durvasana, the first thing that the author is talking about is having God and doing prayers daily. Every day has to be a day where you have to think of God, where you have to be connected with God. It cannot be a case, there is no way, there's absolutely no way a Vedanta student can say that I actually passed a day without thinking about God. If you did that, there's something's wrong there. Okay? Every day, okay, you have to have a connection with God. Okay? That is what here they're talking about. Your range of prayers can, the span of your prayers can range from something simple to something elaborate. But the point is, you have to have connection with God every day. That is the first point that the author is making. After that, in the same line, the next thing that he's saying is, Tadano, after that, Sat Vedanta Sachintaya. That means, the direct translation will mean that you have to always think of Vedanta. What does he mean by that? That means, you have to study the Vedanta text. Because here, remember, this text is addressed to a student of Vedanta. Because this is Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam. It is not a text that is meant for the popular, for the masses, It's not. It's targeted specifically at a Vedanta student. So you'll find the Vedanta terminology coming in. That means they assume that the student already has got some exposure to Vedanta. That is why we can't take this text right at the beginning. We can only do it now when we have gone halfway through Tattva-bodha. Okay? So, the second point he's making is that you must always think of Vedanta. And what does he mean by think of Vedanta means? Basically, he's saying that you have to study the Vedanta text. It means you either do inquiry on what you have studied, reflect on what you've studied, go through your material, go through your notes, revise what you've studied, and think about it. Those of us who have got greater exposure to Vedanta, who have studied other Vedanta texts, you can actually pursue your own study, if you are capable and confident of doing it. For the others who are not confident or not able to undertake the study on your own, what you can do is to look through the material that you have collated. Think about it, reflect about it, do the inquiry, Write down where are your doubts. Where are the areas where you have difficulties understanding, where you have difficulties reconciling. And ask yourself, and try to clarify the doubt with the teacher. Okay? And this again, it has to be done regularly. That is why they say it is, the frequency is very, very important. Okay? It has to be done daily. You'll find that later on you'll see the first verse actually is talking more about the type of lifestyle that the student needs to have. The actual remedies per se only start in the second verse. So this verse so far, the first lifestyle is spoken about is one about daily prayers and connecting with God. Second one, daily study of Vedanta text or Vedanta material. Daily study, reflection, inquiry. Underline the word daily. Okay. Frequency, I say again, like a broken tape recorder, frequency is key. Okay. Frequency is key. You must have high frequency in these things. It can't be something that you do once a week or do when all the other chores and duties have been completed. Okay. So Vedanta Chintaya. After that, what do you do? Paschat Bharata Moksha Dharma Kataya. They are recommending here that you study the Bharata Moksha Dharma. You see, if a student of Vedanta were to do analysis and inquiry all his life, at some point he can get dry. So here the teacher is prescribing you study some of the other type of texts which may not be heavily Vedantic. And here what he's recommending is Bharata Moksha Dharma, which is actually the Mahabharata. But there's a catch there. He's not just saying go and study the Mahabharata. What he's saying is study the Moksha Dharma portion of the Mahabharata. Mahabharata has got a whole range of dharmas inside. And in Shanti Parva, that is the 12th book of Mahabharata. Mahabharata has got 18 parvas. The 12th book is called Shanti Parva. And inside Shanti Parva, there is a chapter called Moksha Dharma, where they talk about moksha. Other parts of Mahadharma talks about dharma. But this section of Mahabharata, primarily where Bhishmacharya is talking to Yudhishthira, there are lots of prescriptions on moksha. And here what Swami Vidyaranya is saying is that you should read the Moksha Dharma portion of the Mahabharata. Okay? But that is not the only thing he is asking you to read. In addition to Moksha Dharma, he wants you to study something else. Vashishta Ramayana. What is Vashishta Ramayana? Vashishta Ramayana is a text called Yoga Vashishta. Vashishta Ramayana is not the Valmiki Ramayana. Here is Vashishta Ramayana refers to Yoga Vashishta. Yoga Vashishta is a Vedantic text which has got nothing to do with Ramayana. It was written much later. It is also a Vedanta text. And what's the third text he's asking you to study? Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Kataya. Okay? That is the third one that he is asking you. Okay? Srimad Bhagavatam is the stories of Sri Krishna, Mahavishnu. Okay? And there is many, many beautiful stories, including some of the stories of Mahabharata are repeated inside Srimad Bhagavatam. So he wants to give the student to have a wide flavor of books and material so that you don't get bored, it's refreshing each day. Okay? And he wants you to do it regularly. That's why he's saying you need to Nididhyasana. What he means by Nididhyasana is to reflect on what you are studying, even the Dharma text. Okay? And Kalo Gachi, to spend your whole life this way while you commit your life to a life of Prarabdha. Okay? Yeah. So he's saying that the point he's trying to get across is that Vedanta should be the mainstay in the life of a student, of such a student. In other words, this for a serious student of Vedanta, he shouldn't have time for anything else. It's only Vedanta that should be his main preoccupation. That's the point that Swami Vidyaranya is saying. And on the last part about Prarabdha, where you submit yourself to Prarabdha, what he's trying to say is that because if you're talking about sannyasi, it's fine. He can just commit himself to prarabdha. But for people who've got families, who's got a job, what can you do? You just can't walk away from all these things. You still got your family duties to attend to. So the suggestion is that you should earn what is required for the maintenance of one's life and family. Okay, and that is the way of submitting yourself to prarabdha. Okay, so that is the lifestyle that he is talking about for uh, this first verse. Let me share a slide on the summary of this. This is the gist of the first verse of the Durvasana Pratikara Dashakam. Any questions? If no questions, I'll go to the second verse. Here is where the remedy proper starts. So far, he's been talking about lifestyles. Here he goes into the actual prescriptions for the elimination of the Durvasana. The first is Ajnanam Tyaja He Mano Mama. That means he's telling the mind, hey, my mind, Manaha Mama, my mind, hey, my mind, get rid of your ignorance. So he's telling the mind to get rid of ignorance. How? By Sada Brahmatma Sad Bhavana. That means get rid of this ignorance that you have about who you really are. Atma, my true nature is Atma. But I have been under the wrong notion and taken something else to be Atma. And why did I do that? Because of ignorance. Ignorance of who I am. Just as how I'm ignorant, because of the ignorance of the rope is taken to be the snake. Ignorance of the rope leads one to see a snake there. The same way, ignorance about my true nature has led me to take myself to be something else. And that is the fundamental error that we all make as human beings in this samsara life. And here, the first remedy that is prescribed is to tell the mind, to remind the mind that you have been ignorant about what is your true nature. So overcome this ignorance. And how can it overcome the ignorance? This is again by the study of Vedanta Shastras. Okay? Study of Vedanta Shastras to eliminate the ignorance, such that you can see that I am not this body, mind, sense, changing body, changing mind, changing intellect, but I am the Brahma Atma. That is why I say Brahma Atma Sad Bhavana. Coming to see myself as Atma, as Brahman. Okay, so that is the message for us. How we should look at this verse is about studying in detail, applying, not just understanding the knowledge, bringing the knowledge to bear into our daily life. Okay, whatever we learned all this while, see how we can bring to bear it in our daily life, apply it in our daily life such that it becomes a part of the system. This is the process by which one can slowly remove one's ignorance about his true nature. Okay, that is the first line of the second verse. Now, the second line of the second verse, Sankalpan Akilanapi Teja, again, Jagan Mityatva Sambhavana. Okay. What he's trying to say is, give up the sankalpas, the thoughts regarding the future and the past. Okay. Give up the sankalpa. Sankalpa means thought. So give up the, teja means give up. So give up the thoughts regarding the future, regarding the past. What does he mean by this? What is essentially he's saying is that be in the present, be in the moment. Plan when necessary, but don't repeatedly brood over things. Plan when necessary, but don't repeatedly brood over things. If we look at our lives, a common mistake many of us make is either our mind is often thinking about something that has happened in the past, or planning for what is going to happen in the future? How many times are we really in the present? You know, because we always say, everybody knows the reality, the usefulness of it, but how many of us are really always present? Because it's very easy to say it, but very difficult to do it. You know, how often are we truly present in the moment? You know, and this is why the value of this has become so big these days, that you have lots of mindfulness workshops. You know, if you go online, you've got lots and lots of techniques, experts, teachers all in about mindfulness. Why? What is mindfulness really about? Mindfulness is about getting yourself to center yourself in the moment. And for a Vedanta student, this is far more important. It goes beyond the realm of the circular purpose which people typically use mindfulness for. Because if in Vedanta, if I'm able to center myself and be in the present and be in the moment, what I've essentially done is I've been at that moment, I am with Atma. I'm not with the mind, I'm not with the intellect. I am with Atma, I am with my true nature, if I'm able to center. And if I'm able to carry this with me wherever, this centered state of awareness, if I'm able to carry it with me wherever I go, it will bring a whole new experience to my life. Okay, let me give you a small story. I'll share a bit of story to also break the monotony a bit. Huh? Okay, a man had a house. This story about a man. He had a house. Actually, I heard this story from a very young and modern spiritual teacher. I shall not mention the name. Okay, a man had a house. The house had 60,000 rats. How many? 60,000 rats. And in one corner of the house, there was a little cat. And the man, gave the cat a little bit of food here and there. And naturally, it wasn't enough. A cat's natural meal is the rat. And because the food wasn't enough, one day the cat tried to catch some rats. But it couldn't. It was a small cat, it was still growing. It couldn't catch the rats because there were 60,000 of them. And it lost. But the man continued to feed the cat. And the cat started to get stronger and stronger. It kept feeding the cat, and the cat started to get stronger. One day, there was a big fight with the rats. The cat started to fight with the rats. And in one moment, the cat actually wins and eats a few rats, which is his natural food. And the cat becomes very confident. No? He's able to attack, kill a few rats and eat them. And he becomes very confident. And the man continues to feed the cat, and the cat continues to get stronger and stronger. And it reaches a point where no fight is required, because initially he had to fight to defeat the rats. Now, just one strike by the cat and a few rats will die because the cat has become so strong. One strike, few rats are dead. It doesn't stop there. The cat continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger. It gets so ferocious that it reaches a point that when the rats see the cat from a distance, they get a cardiac arrest and they die. They do not even need to enter into the fight. So the cat has gotten so strong that soon all the rats disappear from the house. They disappear and the house is empty of rats. Then what happens? The cat blows a whistle. And when the cat blows a whistle, 10 rats are summoned. He's able to summon 10 rats just with the blowing of a whistle. The 10 rats come there, they do a performance, and when the performance is over, the cat blows a whistle again, the rats run away. The rats are entirely under the command of the cat. And they all live happily ever after. The story has a much deeper meaning, obviously. Otherwise, such a boring story. The house. What is the house? The house is your life. And what are the rats? The rats are your thoughts. The house is life, your life. The rats are your thoughts. Why 60,000? Because studies have shown that on a typical day, you entertain 60,000 thoughts on the average. Some of us maybe even more. Okay, but on the average, man entertains 60,000 thoughts a day, not a week, huh? A day. Can you imagine? And of the 60,000, 90% are the same as yesterday. 90% are the same as yesterday. So life is fresh. Our thinking is not fresh. Thinking always about stuck. No wonder we feel stuck. Because always thinking about the past. Okay? Past means what? Anxiety, fear, whether was the past going to repeat again in the future. So the 60,000 rats represent your thoughts. What is the cat? Cat represents your awareness. Okay? Cat represents your awareness. Because if you are listening, come into the awareness. Be in the moment. If you can be in the present, there is no rat. Okay? Instead of always thinking, comparing, judging, wondering, looking around, put that away. Be in the present. When you are in the present, there is no thoughts. So each time you make an effort to be in the present, be in the moment, you will find a change in you. Let's try, let's do this exercise now. Let's all do it. Okay? Let's tell ourselves, I'm going to be in the present. So to help ourselves, we'll do a simple, deep, just take a deep breath. I'm in the present. Tell yourself, I'm in the present. I'm attentive, fully attentive. I'm listening right now. I'm here. My mind is here. I am here. Tell yourself and just be. Okay? How do you feel? Good? You know what you've just done? You have just fed your cat. Or rather, you've just fed the cat. You've just fed the cat. So, as the cat is fed, as you continue to stay in the present, the cat gets what? Stronger and stronger. Okay? Every moment that you're in the present, where you unhook yourself from all the imaginations of the past and the future, you are feeding the cat. You're feeding the cat. And you come into the present experience. Okay? When you're in the present, you're away from the I am this, I am that, you are this, you are that. No. There is no I am this, I am that. I am. I am. That's all I am. Okay? So going back to the story, if the cat gets stronger and stronger, the part where you get the cardiac arrest. Why? Because as you get stronger in your awareness, the thoughts don't have a chance to come and overpower you. Initially, awareness is not strong. That is why the cat is easily defeated, right? Because the thoughts are very powerful. Thoughts of anger, fear, frustration, jealousy, hatred. These thoughts are also powerful. They're like the rats, they can just overpower you and take control. But as awareness gets stronger and stronger, I see a thought rising. And I'm able to say, I don't want to follow through with that thought. That thought, cancel. I don't want to follow through with that thought. This is where the strong cat is able to see the rat from far, and the rat gets a cardiac arrest and it dies. The awareness will overpower the imagination. And even from a distance, the thought is unable to come near to trouble you. The thoughts are identified and nipped in the bud. Okay? So, awareness reigns supreme. Finally, the blowing of the whistle, what exactly is that? Because thoughts are not all bad. Thoughts have a purpose. There's a reason why God has given us thoughts. Thoughts are there for functional purposes, right? You want to do something, you want to do a job, you need to get a task done. You use your mind, you use your thoughts. That's why that you blow the whistle, the thoughts come in, they do their job. When the job is over, they pack up and go. That's all. I don't have to think about what has happened and gone. Like similarly, I don't have to ruminate about what is going to happen in the future. Okay? So, our role is to feed the cat, not get overpowered and tortured by the rats. And that is the message here that they are saying about Sankalpa akilanapi yaja. Don't dwell on this past and future. Be in the present, be in the moment. Okay? And as you make this a practice, make this a lifestyle, you will start to see that you're more at peace with things around you and not be troubled by your own mental landscape. Okay? Go and put that into practice and you'll see. Okay? And the second part of the verse is saying that the knowledge of Jagat as Nitya. We have not come to this part yet because this will be in the second half of Tattva Bodha. Because what they are saying here is to see the world, see Jagat as Nitya. We have seen our three bodies as Mithya. We have seen the Panchakoshas as Mithya. We have not come to the analysis to show that the Jagat, the entire creation, is also Mithya. Although we did mention it, we did allude to it, but we have not done a deep analysis in Tattva Bodha. That's in the second part, in the macrocosmic analysis. But here the author is saying that with that knowledge that the Jagat is Mithya, you'll be able to therefore attach less importance to the thoughts of the past and the future and be more present and concerned with the present and do what is necessary. Okay? So that is the second verse, second line of the second verse. Okay? The third line, Kamam sadhana sadhana shrama paridhyana. What is saying here? This is really about sealing on desires. I didn't say no desires. Sealing on desires. And basically the Swami Vidyaranya is saying that you should have a limit on the desires. And how to have a limit on the desires, because my desires are endless. So what the author is saying is, see the dosha, see the defects, the limitations of the desire. Each time you desire, look at the limitations of the desire. That way, you'll be less enchanted by the desire. And he says, ajasram tyaja. Don't just do it one or two or for some big desire. He's saying that do it repeatedly. That is what the author is saying. So this exercise of looking at the defects of my desire is something that should be done repeatedly and regularly by the student of Vedanta. That is what the teacher is saying. Okay? Why? Because desires can create lots of problems. We saw in Bhagavad Gita the analysis how it all starts with desire. Desire, when unfulfilled, leads to anger, frustration, right? Anger, frustration will lead to a lot of other unintended consequences if I'm not able to manage it. Now remember, kama, krodha, then it leads to moha, and from moha, the man actually perishes. There's a whole chain articulated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. So the starting point, the cause of this problem is kama, the desire. So here the teacher is saying that we've got many desires, Some desires are part of the role that we have. So as a Vedanta student, we all have to look at it and see what is it that I can limit. And again, it's very difficult to say, just because I've been able to limit a particular desire, I should insist that all of you all should also limit it or eliminate it. This is something that only you can be the judge of yourself, And I say this particularly to the older folks. People who have gone at a much later phase of their life. It is in our culture, as we get older, it's a time where people start to limit their what they own and the type of desires they entertain. Unfortunately, in today's society, it may be difficult because you're saying only after retirement, then I can go and travel around the whole world, because while I'm working, I don't have the means to do it. So it seems like all the desires are kept until they are fulfilled at retirement, But that was not how the ancient society worked, At a point when, as one gets older and older, the amount of desires are entertained should be reduced less and less, should become less and less. And I should spend more and more time contemplating about God. This was how the Vedic society used to be. So today's context, it's difficult, but each of us got to see how we can handle it and manage it in our own lives. Okay. So the point here is about sealing on desires. That is the third line of the second verse. Now, the fourth line has got 2 points there. Krodam tu Shamaya. Okay? Krodam tu Shamaya. Okay? Now, Krodha means anger. And here they are saying that when anger comes, because our Durvasana can be anger, right? Some of us can be very, very hot-tempered. Some of us are not hot-tempered. Most of the time you're okay, but they've got one thing called a raw nerve. When the raw nerve is touched, all hell break loose. Correct? So Krodham can happen in anyone. And when Krodham comes, what are they saying? You should observe Shama. Okay? Now, what is Shama? What is Shama? Saundarya, what is Shama?
Sorry, actually I read the notes. It says patience. But Shama is more like forbearance to withstand any adversity with a smile.
Okay. Okay. So this is in the commentary, they have taken Shama to be like what Saundarya said, forbearance, patience, to withstand adversity. But we have to stretch that. We have to stretch that meaning of Shama, because Shama is much more than forbearance. We have to. If I say Shama is just forbearance, it is just an absence of negativity. That's all. That means when I'm angry, I don't respond negatively. That's all. When you don't have negativity, for those of us who are scientists, there's positive and negative. When you don't have negative and positive, what do you have? You have something called neutral. From negative, you go to neutral, but that's about it. If I were to take forbearance as patience, I'm just moving from negative to neutral. We must look at how we can move from neutral to positive. That is real Shama. So the definition of Shama as forbearance is actually not enough. It's not enough to forbear. It is not enough to tolerate. It's not enough. Because that means you have only reached a state from, instead of being negative, you have become neutral. That's all. Because you're still having that hatred brewing inside. It's just that you have not shouted something else at him. That's all. That's not enough. That's not enough for a student of Vedanta. It's not enough to build a pure and steady mind. There is something else that you need to do. You need to make it into a positive trait. So when something has happened to you where you've been triggered into a state where you have got anger, you need to cultivate a state where you can move to be positive about it. And how is that possible? How are you going to be positive about a situation that is so negative to make you angry? How to overcome that kind of hatred? I've mentioned this before. The solution is always unconditional love again. Okay? Unconditional love. How? Reminding ourselves about our own divinity and the divinity in others. Because we got angry and we develop hatred. Why? Because at that moment we forgot. Yeah, fine, never mind. But once you got angry, don't stay angry. Don't stay angry. Move on to the state where I remind myself of my own divinity. I remind myself of that person's divinity, and I move myself to that positive state. All of us get angry, it's okay, but don't stay angry. That's the point they're trying to say here. So when there's Krodham, you handle it by Shama, but not a Shama of forbearance where I tolerate and just walk away and run away and continue to hate the guy. No, that's not what is talked about here. A Vedanta student, for him to evolve, for the soul to mature, you need to have that enlightenment, that knowledge in you, and the wisdom in you to move from that position of negativity, hatred, anger to a state of positivity. It may not happen immediately, but it's anytime is still better than not at all. But the sooner the better. You see, so that I don't continue to brew the negativity. I don't continue to to feed it. I don't continue to allow it to fester within me. Okay? You understand? So that's the difference between this way of looking at managing anger versus using the traditional definition of the word kshama as forbearance. There's a huge difference. And here, how we should look at handling anger is through the manifestation of unconditional love. How to manifest unconditional love? First of all, acknowledge my own divinity. If you are God, will you behave like that? Will God behave like that? So I have to behave like that. My divinity. Next thing, acknowledge the divinity of the person who has wronged me. What is wronged is what his external covering is. At the end of the day, he is also divinity. And I respond. Then my internal reaction to that person should be one of how I react to another divine being, which is love, unconditional love. Okay? So this is the point that we are making here, that you should handle Krodha by Shama. And the
Ravi,
last
there's a question.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, sorry, Ravijit. I'm just looking at the definition of sama in the Sadhana Chatushyam, where it says it is about control of the mind. But that is, sorry, but looking at the way the Sanskrit is written, it is written as shama there, whereas this one is chama. Chama here, I think, would mean forgiveness, which probably is closer to what you're saying. I'm just kind of thinking if that is the right way of looking at it.
This is Iksha, no?
Yeah, this is
Kshama.
Yeah, this is Kshama.
Correct.
Yeah.
Kshama is forgiveness and forbearance, both.
And forbearance as well. Okay.
Yes.
Forgiveness.
So that's what they're saying here. Sadhana Chatushtaya, which one are you referring to? Which
I'm looking at page 51, where it's page 50, where it says Shama Adi Sadhana Sampatti Kaha. Shamodamo Paramaha Titiksha.
No. That Shama is different.
Yeah.
That in Sadhana Chatushtaya, oh, I thought you were saying Sadhana Panchakam, sorry. In Sadhana Chatushtaya, Shama is the Sha. It's a different meaning.
Yeah,
this
correct.
Is the Sha.
Correct. So that's what I said. That one is talking about mind control and from there not having the ability to react. Whereas this one is Shama, which is actually the forgiveness. That's kind of what I was trying to reconcile. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
That Shama is not this Shama, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And the last remedy they're talking about there is for Lobha. The problem of Lobha. What is Lobha? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha. Remember what are the malas? The impurities that the mind typically has. One of it is called Lobha. Lobha means greed. And the remedy for greed is Santoshaha. Okay? Santoshaha in Sanskrit means contentment. Not the Tamil definition of Santosha. In Sanskrit, Santosha means contentment. Okay? Contentment. Okay? A lot of our problems, our issues, our unhappiness, our sorrow, if we really analyze deep down, you will find you can trace it down to some form of comparing with others. How come they have this? How come I don't have? Why must this happen to me? How come other people can have like this, such a lovely life and I get a life like that? How come those people's children all can be so good? Why my child only like that? I look at other people's husband. So nice. Husband take care of the wife. Look at my husband. Can't even get me flowers on Valentine's Day. Same way, wife. Look at the wife can cook nice food. My wife doesn't cook at all. Don't know how to cook. Cook also so horrible. See, always the judgment comes because I use something else as a reference. You see, it's all about comparing. So this comparison sometimes leads to a lot of issues and afflictions. So while the word Lobha means greed, we also got to define it properly to put it in proper context. It's sometimes greed may not be so excessive, but greed may exist in other forms in the sense that we tend to compare, and because of that, we end up becoming very unhappy. So that is why Swami Vidyaranya gives the remedy of contentment, and how to be contented. Short of getting frustrated. Of course, I can't do anything, right? If my neighbor's husband is so good, he's buying flowers for her, and my husband is so useless, I can't do it. I can't go and marry the neighbor's husband, right? I mean, I can't do anything about it, right? So that type of contentment means I'm just accepting things the way they are. I'm still going to be frustrated because my situation hasn't gotten any better. So here, by contentment means, it doesn't mean a despondent acceptance and just continue with life. That's not what is meant here, because that won't get you anywhere. That will only make you more frustrated. The contentment could be looked at from a wider context, and that is by bringing in God into the equation. This is very important. By bringing God into the equation and surrendering to God's will. That means if something happens or I don't get something, even in the case where I compare my neighbor has got something and I don't have, or my child doesn't do, we have to look at it as either a karmic blueprint ordained by God or God's will. That's much more easier, because if we lead a God-centered life, it's very easy to say this thing is happening to me because God has ordained it. It's the Lord's will, and you surrender to the Lord's will. If I'm not meant to get it, I won't get it, no matter what. And the Lord has ordained that I don't get it, so I get it, I accept it. You can take it as, you can even weave this together with prasada buddhi to a certain extent. The point I'm trying to make is, contentment got to be with a positive mindset and not in a despondent mindset, because I can't do anything, so I just live with it. No, that's not what it's meant here. Here, contentment means that I accept it as ordained by God, and therefore I'm positive about it. I'm able to move on. It no longer becomes a thorn that pricks me and continues to either annoy me, irritate me, or worse still, make me sad. I'm able to move on because I've taken it as the Lord's will that I'm not meant to have this. I'm not meant to have a husband who buy me Valentine. Never mind. Forget about the roses. I hate roses. I'll give up roses or whatever, But the fact is, I'm not. I switched to a positive mindset as a result of that. That is what I'm trying to say here. Because don't forget what we are trying to do here in all these remedies. We are trying to make the mind a suitable instrument to receive the Vedantic knowledge. We are trying to make the mind pure. We are trying to make the mind steady. And all these durvasanas of greed, of anger, they are things that are agitating the mind. So we have to give the remedies and the solutions prescribed have to be such that it moves the mind from a state of agitation to a state of positivity, calmness, and steadiness. See? And this state has to be permanent, or it has to be there for the long haul. It cannot be something that's temporary and then goes away after that. You get me? So that is what these remedies are all about. So in that sense, when lobha, greed or comparison overpowers me, then what I need to do is to cultivate this attitude of contentment. And contentment here, again, I've stretched the definitions of what they've given there, because they are saying there that you do it by the strength of not comparing, but that is not going to be very helpful if I just say, okay, all of you must from now on stop comparing with other people. So what? These things happen because you live in a life where there are people all around you. You just can't say, I'm going to stop comparing. No, it doesn't work that way. You see, it's not going to be helpful and you won't be able to implement it. So how we should look at it is that whatever has happened to me in my life, good and bad, both are ordained by God. And why did God ordain this to me? Was it because he wanted to punish me? No, not because he wants. What has God gained by punishing you? No. This situation, these experiences are there for your own experience and evolution. The situations are there for your experience and evolution. Good and bad are labels that we stick on situations. Good and bad are labels that we ourselves stick on the situations. You face the experience, whatever comes your way, as ordained by God. Then you are in that state where you are positive about everything that happens. Because now you are saying that whatever I'm doing, God has ordained it for me. It's God's, you want to stretch it further, it's God's prasadam, it's God's gift to me. And I accept it. It takes a huge amount of faith, it takes a huge amount of effort. But what is important, it will become much easy if you live a God-centered life. If God is a very close partner, very close to you, this thing is easily done. Okay? And then what happens to your mind as a result of that? Your mind will be a mind that is steady. Come what may. Right? Good, bad, ugly, neutral, whatever. You take a mind that is steady as a result of that. And that is the last line of the second verse. Let me share a slide. So this is a summary of the second verse. 5 remedies inside. I kind of condensed it. Okay. So there are 5 remedies inside the second shloka.
So when you said for the anger part, we were talking about ways to handle it and to make it go away. I was wondering if due to our karma and vasanas, it is even possible to not get angry at all. Is it? Okay, all right. That was my question.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. You find people in your life who are calm, who seldom get angry. Yes, why not?
As in not get angry at all. Is that possible? It is, right?
Do I know anyone like that? Possible. Theoretically, it's possible. Again, it's the level to which the anger is manifested. Again, or the intensity with which the anger is manifested. I've seen people who manifest anger to very, 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 very small levels. I've seen them. Yes.
So it's like a millisecond kind of thing, and
sorry.
It's like a nanosecond kind of thing, and then
Yeah. I have.
All right, thank you.
I think we'll stop here. We'll not go to the third verse because it's very heavy. It's heavy going in. A lot of pointers have been put here. Yeah, Chitra.
Ravi, one of the points you made about contentment is that we compare, with others, and we see a lot of negative aspects around our lives. Another way to confront this kind of challenge perhaps is to look at the positive things that have happened in your life. Okay, and being God-centered is one, like you said, but also looking at other positive things that are constantly happening in your life and that God is giving you. This way, I think contentment will emerge as well.
I think that's a fantastic point that you have said. You see, in fact, I forgot to mention it. Thank you for reminding me about it. What essentially you're saying is that gratitude.
Yes.
Be grateful for what I have. Yeah.
No, reflect on the positive aspects, because there must be a lot of positives in one's life as well.
Yeah. We are always looking at what is negative in our life and conveniently ignoring what is positive in our life. Half empty, the glass half full or half empty. So we can choose to see what are the good things that we've been blessed with. How God has given us other things. Remember the story they said, I was complaining about the slipper that the broken slipper I was wearing until I saw a man with no legs, that story, yeah. So we're always looking at things that we don't have and we feel so disadvantaged. But we fail to see areas where we've been blessed with so many advantages. And that will help us, don't help us feel less distraught about some of these things, and it will help us develop that contentment here to a large extent. Yeah. Thank you, Chitra. Thanks. The other thing about gratefulness is if you listen to all the faiths in the world and even spiritual masters, everybody repeatedly points out this attitude about having this gratitude mentality. You know? When you are grateful for things, you bring a certain blessing onto your own life. You know, when you are grateful to the universe, grateful to God, grateful for whatever things you have, you bring a certain positivity to your life. I've heard this many, many times from many, many spiritual masters. They all say that. Even in other faiths, they talk about that. So that again, it will help and go a long way towards developing contentment, santosha in our lives as a Vedanta student. Yeah, Karthik.
Not a question, but I just thought I would like to share something that another teacher taught me, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I think what was recommended is that when we sit back sometimes and reflect, we will find a lot of people who made us angry. And they must have done that maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, but we still carry that. So the point was, put that person when you are doing your reflection or whatever, and whether it is your fault or not, just either forgive them or seek forgiveness from them, either way, because one wouldn't have gotten angry with you without a reason. It must have also been something that you have done. So I think that I found was a very good way of kind of getting away from at least the past anger, which you don't have to ruminate over it and then continue to cause the problems and consequent sufferings. I think it's not just the anger. I think it's the repeated bringing up of that incident which makes life worse, and that's the suffering that we all go through. I just thought I'll just share it for whatever it is worth.
Thank you, Karthik. Yes, you see, since you have gone some distance in Tattva Bodha, now by now you can see the mind is not an ordinary thing. If we are not in a state where the mind is something that lives inside our physical body, by now, with definition of Satchidananda, you would have seen the physical body is something that exists in the mind. That is why when the mind is dissolved in deep sleep, there is no body. Okay? So the mind is a very, very powerful instrument that you have. It's just that we don't know or we underestimate its value. And that is why to cure hatred, sending positive energy and sending positive thoughts, be it in reflection or in meditation, it's extremely helpful. And it will go a long way towards solving the problem for yourself, maybe even creating a positive vibe in the other person. There are some traditions where they have this thing about sending love to people, particularly to people who have offended you or irritated you, be it 15 years, 10 years, whatever. Particularly to people who have caused you a lot of grievance. So the mind is a very powerful instrument, and such sending of vibrations and love to people will go a long way towards helping you find your peace, which makes your mind better, makes it more positive, more strong, more pure, and also maybe to help the recipient at the other end of it. This is present in many, many traditions.
I didn't say that, but that's exactly what the remedy was, which is to say you tell them that, you do love them and, you seek forgiveness from them. That's very positive, so that it kind of then goes away from your life as a chapter, and then you can at least move on from thereafter. Exactly, that's exactly what they said.
You see, we don't believe in all these things because we live in a world that we believe to be highly gross and physical. And because mind and thoughts cannot be seen, we think that those things don't exist. It's just like how radio frequency waves, people thought at one point never existed, right? But when you found an instrument called a receiver that can tune into a frequency, you got radio waves, right? Electromagnetic waves, that's how they discovered. So mind, subtle energy, mind waves, they're just in the same realm. It's just that we haven't found the instrument, but our rishis in the Vedic culture, they found it and they saw the value of it. You see? But in today's modern scientific world, when you say, oh, I want to send positive energy to someone, people are saying, oh, you sure? Is there such a thing? You see? So these are things that we have to take on faith, try it out, see the difference. I've done it many times and I've seen tremendous results, especially this part you said, not so much about forgiveness, but more about sending positive energy to people. Particularly when I was in my working days, when I had difficult colleagues, difficult bosses, I found it extremely useful. And sometimes the results can be overnight. The next day you'll see a 180 degrees change in that person, very positive towards you. I've seen it many, many times.
Ravi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to understand the flow you're taking us through. You brought us to a level where the Atma is a witness of the mind, the body, ego, intellect, and all that. So is that part of the knowledge that we have gained? And now what we're going through this text now is purity of mind. That we're trying to get to a point where we have a pure mind and a steady mind in order to get to the next step of Satchidananda. Is that the journey you're taking us?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And in after we've done this text, we'll go back to Nirvana Shatkam, where we'll go to Nirvana Shatkam, where we'll revisit some of these concepts so that you can look at it again and like a revision of sorts. We can look at the subject matter that we looked at in the first part of Tattva Bodha. We can look at it again. Because we didn't have, I mentioned it before, we don't have time, we didn't spend enough time on the three bodies and the Panchakoshas, and even on Satchidananda. We didn't have time to dwell long enough on it. And the text didn't allow me to dwell long enough also, because there was too little given there by way of text. So I went through quite quickly, but in Nirvana Shatkam, we will have a chance to go and look at it again. And hopefully this time it will be more useful, and it will help to anchor the knowledge that you have better when we do it. It'll just be in about maybe 5 or 6 weeks time, you'll be able to start on Nirvana. Okay, no other questions. I think we can then finish it off. Next week I'll go a bit faster because today I didn't want to take too much of it, because the third verse is also very heavy in content, and there are many pointers. So I didn't want to overload you. If I overload you too much, then it all comes in this one big wave, and you may get overwhelmed. I'd rather give it to you in bite-sized pieces so that you can assimilate it better. So that is the reason why I deliberately stopped at verse number 2. I didn't want to go on to verse number 3. Okay. If nothing else, we'll do the closing prayer and call it a day, call it a night. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini desho yamshoba rahita brahmana santu nirbhayah sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kashchid dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.